Becky Lynch hospitalized after brutal hardcore no DQ match at WWE SummerSlam. Welcome back to the channel, WWE Universe. Tonight, we're covering one of the most shocking and brutal events in WWE history. At SummerSlam 2025, Becky Lynch, the man, the legend, and one of the toughest competitors to ever step foot in the ring, was rushed to the hospital after a vicious hardcore no disqualification match that left the entire WWE Universe in stunned silence. What happened in that match? Who was responsible? And what does this mean for Becky's future in WWE? This isn't just another wrestling storyline. This was a war, one that pushed Becky Lynch to her absolute limit and left her fighting for her health. Buckle up, because we're breaking down every brutal detail of this unforgettable night. Let's start from the beginning. Weeks before SummerSlam, WWE announced that Becky Lynch would face her rival in a hardcore no disqualification match. No count-outs, no disqualifications, and no rules. The perfect environment for chaos. Becky herself welcomed it. She even said during a promo, "You think I'm afraid of pain? I live for it. SummerSlam, I'm not just winning, I'm surviving." That line sent chills through the WWE Universe. Everyone knew this match was going to be brutal, but nobody realized just how far it would go. Heading into SummerSlam, tensions were at an all-time high. Becky's opponent spent weeks attacking her physically and verbally. Every backstage segment, every promo, every face-to-face confrontation ended in a brawl. One particularly memorable moment came just days before SummerSlam on Monday Night Raw. Becky stormed the ring during her opponent's match and smashed her with a steel chair. Security had to drag her away as she screamed, "You started this, now I finish it." By the time SummerSlam arrived, the stage was set for one of the most violent encounters WWE has ever seen. The bell rang, and from the very first second, it was chaos. Becky didn't wait. She charged straight at her opponent, tackling her to the mat and raining down fists. The crowd erupted. This wasn't about wrestling, it was about destruction. Almost immediately, weapons came into play. Becky grabbed a kendo stick from under the ring and swung it like a warrior. Crack! The sound echoed through the arena. Every strike made the crowd roar louder. Her opponent fought back, slamming Becky into the barricade and pulling out a steel chair. The two exchanged weapon shots in a violent symphony of pain. And the fans? They loved every second of it. The violence escalates. 10 minutes in, the match had already reached a level of brutality that few could stomach. Tables were broken. Kendo sticks were splintered. Even the steel steps came into play. Becky was bleeding from her forehead after being rammed into the ring post, but she refused to stay down. With fire in her eyes, Becky hit a massive exploder suplex through a table that sent the crowd into a frenzy. She covered her opponent. 1, 2, but somehow she kicked out. Frustration boiled over. Becky rolled out of the ring, reached under it, and pulled out a bag. When she poured it onto the mat, thousands of tiny metal thumbtacks scattered across the canvas. The audience gasped in horror. This was no longer just a match. This was a war zone. The turning point came when Becky tried to slam her opponent onto the thumbtacks. She set it up perfectly, but at the last second, her rival countered. Instead of Becky delivering the slam, she was the one who got planted back first into the thumbtacks. The crowd went absolutely silent for a moment. Becky screamed in agony, blood staining her gear. Somehow, someway, she pulled herself back to her feet, defiant as ever. But the damage was done. Her body was battered, and the pain was written all over her face. Yet still she fought on. As the match neared its end, both women were exhausted and barely able to stand. Becky's opponent grabbed a steel chair, wedged it between the ropes, and tried to drive Becky's skull into it. But Becky reversed, slamming her rival into the chair instead. The crowd exploded. Becky climbed to the top rope for one last desperate move. She launched herself for a leg drop onto a table, but her opponent rolled away. Becky crashed through the table, her body crumpling in a heap. Her rival immediately capitalized, hitting her finisher onto the wreckage. 1, 2, 3. It was over. Becky Lynch had lost. But worse than that, she wasn't moving. Medical staff rushed the ring. The crowd was dead silent, watching as doctors surrounded Becky. Her back was lacerated from the thumbtacks. Her shoulder appeared to be dislocated. Even her opponent, victorious but visibly shaken, stepped back and allowed the medics to work. Becky was eventually placed on a stretcher. The image of the man, broken but defiant, raising one fist as she was wheeled out of the arena, will go down as one of the most unforgettable moments in SummerSlam history. Becky Lynch sustained multiple injuries during her Hardcore No Disqualification match at SummerSlam and is currently under medical evaluation. We will provide further updates when available. But behind the scenes, one thing was clear. Becky had earned everyone's respect all over again. Her willingness to endure that kind of punishment solidified her as one of the toughest superstars in WWE history. One fan tweeted, "Becky Lynch is the definition of heart. That match was insane. Get well soon, Becky." Another wrote, "I don't care what anyone says. Becky Lynch just proved why she's the man. Nobody else could have survived that." And then there were those who were simply in awe. "That was the most violent women's match I've ever seen." Becky is a warrior. Within hours, WWE's YouTube channel uploaded highlights of the match. It became the most viewed SummerSlam clip in record time. So what does this mean for Becky's future? Reports indicate that Becky may be out of action for several weeks, possibly even months, depending on the extent of her injuries. But if there's one thing we know about Becky Lynch, it's that she doesn't stay down for long. There are already rumors that Becky is vowing revenge the moment she's cleared to return. And if her history is any indication, her comeback will be nothing short of legendary. Imagine it. Becky Lynch returning, battle-scarred and furious, ready to settle the score in an even bigger match. Could we see a last woman standing match? A steel cage? Maybe even Hell in a Cell? One thing's for sure. When Becky comes back, WWE better be ready. SummerSlam 2025 gave us one of the most unforgettable, violent, and emotional matches in WWE history. Becky Lynch may have been hospitalized, but her fighting spirit has never been stronger. This wasn't just a loss. This was a declaration. Becky Lynch proved that she will literally risk everything for this business, and that's why she remains one of the most beloved superstars in WWE history. And if history has taught us anything, it's this. You can hurt Becky Lynch. You can beat Becky Lynch, but you will never, ever break Becky Lynch. The man will rise again, and when she does, the entire WWE Women's division better be ready. What do you think? Was this the most brutal match of Becky Lynch's career? And who should she face when she makes her inevitable return? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more breaking WWE news and updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.